One of the most historically significant presidents of the United States was the 16th President, Abraham Lincoln. He was in office from 1861 to 1865. The Emancipation Proclamation was a ruling issue January of 1863. Lincoln aggressively raised the issue of the lack of equality for African Americans in his country and took steps to solve the problem. He believed that each person deserved to be treated with the same respect and dignity, no matter what their race or color. He was able to change the country and the rest of the world with just this one law. He provided African Americans a chance to live life as free American citizens. This reveals his willingness to change the way the country was run, regardless of how certain citizens might think of him. He was a leader that was ready to make a difference and ready to make a change. He refused to allow injustice to go on in the country, which is why he was sworn to lead. Lincoln was one of the first to recognize the inequality which was occurring in the United States. Many voters were reluctant to have him become the next leader, as they did not agree with ending slavery. They believed that Lincoln was going to abolish slavery as soon as he entered the office. They feared it would ruin the economy because it would cost more to have to pay labor, and without slavery, production would be reduced. The abolishment of slavery did result in economic changes, especially for plantation owners. But in the long term, it led to significant changes in civil rights and industrialization. Lincoln was a very intelligent politician. He was aware that with the respect of most citizens, along with slight controversy, he would win the election. He understood how there was no such thing as bad publicity. Anything he did which was different than expected was bound to start up conversation. Lincoln's leadership ability in this example can be best described as influential. He led his country by trying to build a foundation with a group of people eager to fight for a cause and expanding support based on his established principles. Lincoln was a persuasive campaigner, as he was able to become elected even though he was against most people's views on slavery. Lincoln was able to maintain public interest and influence others to agree with him throughout the election process. Lincoln was also a very effective president. He fought for African American rights and created the laws that ended slavery, which were the stepping stones for improved African American rights. His dedication and commitment towards the cause is seen as he never gave up on what he supported and stuck to his morals, even though others disagreed. A good leader makes differences and knows how to influence others to adopt and promote their good deeds and messages. Whatever you are, be a good one. Abraham Lincoln. President Lincoln led the Union forces to victory during their fight against the Confederate Army. This war was brought forth due to Lincoln's strong opinions on slavery, which he did not hesitate to promote after he was elected. As the president, he was resourceful in leading the Northern Army and used any advantage he had to win. Lincoln used technology to his benefit. The telegraph and the Morse code were used for communication from the combat headquarters to soldiers on the front line. Trains were used to transport wounded soldiers from the battlefield to medical shelters, as well as supplies and weapons to fighting soldiers. Abraham Lincoln also found ways to use the newly acquired technology of photography to see images of what was happening on the field, without actually having to go into harm's way. He was aware of the economical, technological, and social superiority that the North had over the South. It was vital not to let the advantage go. As a leader, Lincoln played to his strengths and refused to let any weaknesses be available to be taken over by the Confederate Army. As president, Lincoln understood that he was accountable to the people of the United States, and being the instigator of the war, he would be responsible for the outcome and effects. It was his duty to lead the country and see the conflict through to the end. In an attempt to reunify the country, approximately 4.5 months after the Civil War ended, Lincoln of independence. Although he was victorious, he knew the country was still torn apart, and as a leader, it was his job to pick up the pieces and rebuild the country. This demonstrates how Lincoln was an effective leader because he proved he was resourceful enough to utilize all available assets in battle. He was accountable to the people of the United States and accepted the challenges of war and did everything in his power to reunite the country after the dispute. As a leader, to know how to succeed, you must be able to prepare for the most difficult decisions in times of crisis. You cannot escape the responsibility of tomorrow by evading it today. Abraham Lincoln. In 1863, Lincoln led one of the largest Native American land takeovers in history. He completely removed the Navajos and the Mascalero Apaches from their New Mexico territory. His disregard for the security and well-being towards Indians was well known. He was totally focused on American land possessions, which included westward expansion. Although he claimed to be focusing on the overall good of the country, he ruled with an iron fist, but was selective in treatment of human beings. His actions were in complete contrast to the Hollywood treatment of his role in American history. Although it's generally known that he was less than an ideal leader when it came to treatment of all minorities, his true beliefs were never brought to the forefront. In this way, he was proven to be a great strategist, but not a true leader. He knew how to put on the right face for the publicity while hiding his real goals. As a president, he presented himself as a fighter for equality and civil rights, but in the background, he did the opposite. This proves he was sometimes not an effective leader, since he did not function with fairness and equality. A leader not only has to have goals, the methods used to achieve these goals must coincide with the principles of fairness, equality, and decency. A leader must set an example for all to follow. Abraham Lincoln was assassinated by John Wilkes Booth at the Ford Theater in Washington, D.C. on April 14, 1865. John Wilkes Booth was a famous actor and supporter of the Confederate Army. John Wilkes Booth knew Lincoln was attending a play at the theater that night, so he masterminded his plan to kill the President of the United States. He shot Lincoln in the back of the head with a .44 caliber single-shot deranger, then stabbed Rathbone, one of Lincoln's men. He then leapt onto stage and shouted, "Thus ever to the tyrants," a famous Virginia stage motto. He broke his leg during that fall. The crowd had first thought it was part of the act, until Lincoln's wife, Mary Todd, screamed. Booth escaped and rode horseback out of Washington with the leg injury. It took 10,000 federal troops to capture the felon. To this day, there are speculations of why Lincoln died. Some say Andrew Johnson, the vice president, had a part in it. Others think it was a plot by the remaining Confederates to avenge their loss. There are many other conspiracies as well. The ballot is stronger than the bullet. Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln did not have the easiest life. Throughout his lifetime, he struggled not only in office, but at home. His family was never perfect. His marriage had many flaws. He would often leave for as long as 6 months at a time, and his wife Mary felt lonely and abandoned. Some would say he used his travels as vacation to escape his alleged self-centered wife's violent temper, mood swings, uncontrollable shopping, and irrational fear of dogs and burglars. The Lincolns argued often, but Mary would raise her voice and Lincoln would just walk out of the room. Both spouses suffered from depression and often took it out on each other. After Mary's second son's death, she began to show more signs of instability. She believed that the spirits of both her sons, Willie and Eddie, were constantly with her. To solve these problems, she retreated to shopping and spending money on secret purchases that she hid from her husband. His presidency was always a dream for her, but his level of fame was unexpected. She became extremely worried about other women flirting with her husband, although there was no record that it happened. Marriage is neither heaven nor hell. It is simply purgatory. Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln was a historically significant president as he represents our HTC by changing America and helping it progress. He demonstrated traits of dedication, persuasiveness, effectiveness, accountability, and resourcefulness. Although at times he may have been seen as unfair, the difference he made was crucial to the beginning of the United States of America we know today, and will continue to be impactful for many centuries to come. I never had a policy. I have just tried to do my very best each and every day. Abraham Lincoln.